This week is going to be a big week in the stock market because we have inflation numbers coming out on Wednesday, and we also have a number of earnings report coming out later on this week as well. So it's going to be a big show. But first, before we get into it, did you hear about what happened this weekend? Did you hear about it? The president once again may be ending the war. This time it may be actually official. Because number one, we do have midterms coming up in November and it's August, so we're only a few months away. But let me read you this report. It's from the Wall Street Journal. It says Trump is willing to end the war and declare victory on Iran with no nuclear deal. He said that in private, he floated around the idea with senior aides with Iran's reopening of the Strait of Hormuz to international shipping as a key condition. So it's looking like he's willing to declare victory as long as the Hormuz is open. I'm just gonna be honest, it was open back in February. What do I think about this? Well, I think it's going to be ending temporarily. As I mentioned, the midterms are coming up in November, so this may be a good time to end it temporarily. But after the midterms, regardless of the outcome, I believe they're going to go full throttle. I believe they really want to get rid of the Iranian regime. I think it's going to happen before the President Trump's term is ended. But with that being said, since we all know that the main reason for inflation is because of this war that's been going on for the past 8 months or 6 months, if it's ended temporarily, that means that inflation is pretty much, non-existent. But I'll go into that a little bit later because we're going to go over a few numbers and I'll bring that up again and it all tied together. But let's take a look at inflation. Inflation's coming out on Wednesday, as I mentioned. We'll be getting the data an hour before market open on Wednesday. So if you don't know, it's a lagging indicator. So we'll be getting July's inflation numbers. So a few things I like to look at before inflation numbers drop is I like to look at the price of oil and how it reacted in the whole month of July. I also like to look at a few other things too. So let's get into that. So if you take a look at the price of oil, July 1st was the very bottom and then it spiked all the way up, upwards of 38% from $68 a barrel to $92 per barrel. And that was the peak of it. But then it dropped back down for a few more days in July and it bottomed out at $83 per barrel. The price of oil will affect everything else. As far as groceries, it'll affect all of that. And whenever CPI data comes out, they take oil. They also look at groceries, but what they take in the groceries is not just any groceries. They look at the price of a basket of goods, and that's eggs, that's milk, that's bread. They look at the calculations of all of that. So that's one of the reasons why I like to look at the egg chart as well. So price of eggs, almost just like the price of oil. Who would have thought? They correlate together. As I mentioned, July, it was pretty much the bottom. And then it went up, listen to this, 300% in the month of July. 300%. Why didn't I buy eggs as an investment? This is another aspect of inflation and how they measure it. But they also take a loaf of bread as well. I could look at the price of a wheat, but it doesn't really capture the entirety of it. However, I will open up the wheat bread just in case, if you'd like to see what's really going on. Let's take a look. Almost identical. It almost bottomed out in July, and it went up substantially. So with that said, everything went up in the month of July, and it's mainly because of the war that was restarted. We had the price of oil go up over 25%, 30%. We had the price of eggs go up over 300%. And we also had wheat go up over 18 to 20% in the month of July. So inflation comes out on Wednesday, as I mentioned before, and the expectations is at 4.2%. So what I am saying is that you better hope that it's well above 4.2%, because if that's the case, stock markets may react negatively, and that's when you buy more stocks as long as you can, because if the war is actually over, those numbers are old numbers. As I mentioned, if the war is over, oil will drop, all the goods and services will drop along with it, and then we won't get inflation numbers for the month of August till September. It's a lagging indicator. So as I mentioned, you better hope that the stock market drops this week. And for the reason being, is that inflation is ramping back up. And the reason why inflation is so important to the stock market is because it affects interest rates. Once again, interest rates is very important to learn about. If it's one thing to learn about the stock market personally, it's few things, obviously, but there's, mindset. There's the willingness to play the long run, but as well as learning economics and the path of interest rates and how it affects everything. It's very important. Inflation, if it's trickling down, if it's actually dropping, then that'll make the Federal Reserve not want to increase interest rates. If it's really good, they'll want to even cut interest rates. But it's all about what's going on with the war. That's why it's so volatile. That's why a single tweet can demolish your entire portfolio. That's the main reason. Now, as I mentioned, once the midterms are over, I do believe the war will kick back in, and I will definitely keep you posted if that's the case. If that really does happen, I really think that they're gonna really want to do a regime change. So I will be making a video about that if it leads up to it. Hey, maybe we might be able to get some insight so we can buy some oil before the war kick back in. I'm just saying, I know a guy, okay? So that's the big kicker this week. We also have a few earnings reports coming out this week. Not too many heavy hitters. We have Supermicro Computers coming out on Tuesday after market close. We also have CoreWeave coming out on Tuesday as well. Not really a big heavy hitter, but it can make the market move. We also have Cisco coming out on Wednesday after market close. Not a lot of heavy hitters, but if news comes out and is actually really good news or really bad news, it could really shift the entire stock market. So that's one thing to really think about and one thing to consider with this week as well. But All Eyes will be talking about inflation, and that'll be coming out on Wednesday. But if stocks do drop because of inflation, you better hope it does, because that's when I'm going to be buying up stocks. Now, anything could happen. Tomorrow, the president can say, you know what, never mind. I'm going to attack these guys and I'm going to obliterate them. As he said in the previous tweet, I'm going to obliterate them. And the stock market went crazy. It tanked and I lost a lot of money, but I've since made it back. So do me a solid, like, subscribe, and see you on the next video.